so bad it makes their head spin. Look at that article. Here's another one by Kurt Nimmo. In his own words, Obama says he is a Constitution-violating dictator. Holy mackerel. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't just say they put cancer viruses in your vaccine to have an effect. You think I'm happy every time we find more documents of where they're putting it in the vaccine and how they admit they're killing us? No, it's horrible. I wish it wasn't true. You think I like the fact they're putting fluoride in the water and I get to expose them? It's horrible. You know how bad it freaks everybody out around here when we go to a store and everywhere's fluoride this for kids, fluoride water that, fluoride candies, knowing it brain damages these little children? Folks, people go, well, how did the Germans let Nazi Germany happen? How did the Russians let it happen? Because the tyrants do it by increment. We are lobsters that have been put in hot water. And I'm in the water going, and my listeners and my crew are like, man, this is hot, trying to keep our feet off the bottom. Let's get out of here. And we're trying to climb out. But have you ever seen a bunch of lobsters or crawdads thrown live into water or crabs? When one starts trying, that's how you do it. You put them in the cold water, turn it on, and as things start to happen, they start moving their feet, and one will go over to try to climb out. Instead of using each other to get out, others will walk over and grab them when they try to leave, and you ain't going nowhere. And that's exactly what all these neocons and liberals and the rest of them are doing. I'm saying, man, let's get out of here. This is starting to boil. And they're like, you ain't going nowhere. Just grabbing me by the leg, and I'm like, stop it, you idiot. The crab looks at me up out of the water with a bubble starting to form and says, we're all going to roast. Because people love the status quo. Well, the status quo is just headlong off a cliff. Headlong off a cliff, right into pure evil. Right into a big bucket of snakes. Big old vat of cobras. Worse than a big, giant vat of cobras. A lot of times, cobras might not even be in the mood to bite you. Like a big old bucket of sulfuric acid, more like it. It's always in the mood to eat your flesh right off the bones. I mean, governments killed, according to the University of Hawaii, there's other studies that are even higher, non-military deaths. I'm going to say it again. Non-military deaths. Non-military deaths. 262 million people exterminated by authoritarian governments in the 20th century. 262 million. And I read ADL, Southern Poverty Law Center, 60 Minutes, MSNBC, Nightline. All of them have attacked yours truly, saying I'm an extremist because I am concerned about the government and say we better keep them under control. Well, I'm in good company, ladies and gentlemen, with George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Frederick Douglass after him. The list goes on and on. You have to be in a coma to not know we are mayday, 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 emergency situation. Red alert. Oh, let's go ahead. I said I'd go to this clip. Here is Obama. Oh, it's only 80,000 illegals. It's illegal for him to do this. Oh, it's children, though. Oh, the ATF is just going to ban some shotguns if you can bottom load clips into them. You know, they said that last year but had to back off. Because they said, well, now that we're allowed to do rulemaking outside of Congress because Obama says so, the guy that ships guns into Mexico to blame the Second Amendment, we're going to have some new laws. They're not laws, but we just say so. All bottom-loading shotguns will be banned. And the NRA, again, a few months ago in a Washington Times article, normally very milquetoast, very conservative, said, yes, he does plan to ban all semi-autos in the next administration. Let me just give the police and military a newsflash. You can arrest a few old men or whatever who don't know you're coming for them and make an example out of them when they don't turn their guns in. All that's going to do is make everybody dig in and get ready. It is a death sentence once this starts for anyone that tries to go get the guns. And the globalists know that when they give you the order. So just remember that. And I don't get any thrill or, ooh, we're going to have our revolution thinking about cannon fodder that Henry Kissinger calls dumb animals having a war with you. I don't think you're a dumb animal. I think military and police are smart enough to understand what's happening here and realize that we've got criminals running everything. And that you better start saying no in the military and the police and everywhere else. Our country has been hijacked. We've been taken over. We've been usurped. Collaborators are in control. You know, people think that Hitler beat the French in 2 weeks. The Maginot Line failed. It all failed in the Blitzkrieg. Not because the German military was even that formidable. Notice what happened when they finally started fighting the Russians. Russians just said, come on in 500 miles and see what happens. It was that the Vichy French, over 80% of the French general staff, just like the Iraqis stood down in 2003, they'd already been paid off. They were given the country. That's why Hitler could turret 2 weeks into the war, go to Paris. And the French were lined up to see him and were told, you don't line up, you get in trouble. Just like North Korea. That's what we got. We've got Vichy government. They've already signed us over, folks. They sold us out. That's why Congress can have the generals in there with their eyes all crazed, gleaming at Congress. Just 10 years ago, the generals were respectful. They walk into Congress now, and they know, they go, hey, we got all the dirt on you. You sit down. You shut up. Is that understood, punks? Now, here's Obama. This video's up at Infowars.com and Kurt Nemo's article. In his own words, Obama says he is a Constitution-violating dictator. Here is Obama saying he couldn't do what he's now doing with the military, with illegals, with guns, with everything. We have a rogue president, but the bankers have given him this power. Just getting rid of him won't fix it. Here it is.
Yeah, we've got a government designed by the founders so that there'd be checks and balances. You don't want a president who's too powerful, but this is part of the whole theory of George Bush, that he can make laws as he's going along.
That's 08.
Believe me, the idea of doing things on my own is very tempting.
That's 2011.
We can't wait for Congress to do its job. So where they won't act, I will.
So from 08 to 011, total change.
I told my administration, we're going to look every single day to figure out what we can do without Congress. What can we do without it?
And that's from the Words Matter 2012. WordsMatter2012.com does some good work over there. And there's a lot of other compilations of that. Let's play that whole thing one more time for people. Here he is in 08 saying Bush was doing this. And by the way, nothing compared to this. Actually, he went to Congress for war and all the rest of it. Didn't mean the war was legal or lawful. Doing whatever he wants. Bush is wrong. And then later saying, well, I need Congress to act, but I can't. Then saying, hey, we'll just do whatever we want. And ladies and gentlemen, he's shutting down power plants. He's going after guns. He's getting rid of our border. He's launching wars. He's signing us onto UN treaties. Obama came out Friday and said he may sign an executive order and say it ratifies the Small Arms Treaty of UNIDIR that calls for the complete abolition of civilian ownership of firearms. The treaty was first began to be ratified in July of 2000. 12 years later, Obama says he'll just sign it and then try to march the ATF up against us. Let's go back to that clip. Here it is.
Yeah, we've got a government designed by the founders so that there'd be checks and balances. You don't want a president who's too powerful, but this is part of the whole theory of George Bush, that he can make laws as he's going along. Believe me, the idea of doing things on my own is very tempting. We can't wait for Congress to do its job. So where they won't act, I will. And I've told my administration, we're going to look every single day to figure out what we can do without Congress. What can we do without it?
All right. And there's a lot more of those. We're going to go to break and come back and get to some calls. And then later in the next hour, I'll get into the geopolitical news. The QE3 news is off the charts. That means hyperinflation. Incredible nanny state. The feminists want you to sit while urinating if you're a man. banning children photographing their filthy school lunches, total bizarre police state activity, secret military mini shuttle landing off California, microphones hidden in airports. We'll be right back. Stay with us. What's happening in this country is unprecedented. Alex Jones back here live. We're going to be going to your phone calls here in just a moment. Coming up, Euro crisis is far from over, stock analysts warn AP. Oh, yeah, just as soon as the bankers get hundreds of billions more, and then hundreds of billions more, and then trillions, it's always, we need more, more, more. We need all these countries to install. Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan people. Business Insider reporting, Goldman QE3 coming next week. Do you know what that means? That means inflation, probably hyperinflation. Proposed international trade rules would give corporations the power to overrule governments. I mean, it's just, look, we're being totally overrun. Because the average person is in a television fantasy land. You go sit in a restaurant, all you hear adults talking about is their favorite TV show. And again, I don't say that in a judgmental way, like I'm into politics, I'm smarter than you. No, it's like this is life and death, you little idiots, you little monkeys. Stop acting like slaves or you will be them. I can't imagine what the collapse of the globalist or engineering is going to look like with all these spoiled, rotten people. I cannot even imagine how hellish this is going to be. And I've always tried to have a good outlook on things that we can reverse stuff. But let me tell you, the New World Order is moving at hyper speed. We're going to go to John, Ed, Carl, Willie, Mark, and others. John in California, thanks for holding. You're on the air.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for getting my call. I got the Time Life disasters that shook the world. It's got Fukushima in it, and there is no 9/11 or Oklahoma in here.
You know, I actually bought that. Well, that's because the disasters is like, I think it's something that happened as an accident or something that happened, you know, made by nature. I actually bought that magazine a few months ago, and I meant to do a shoot with it where I showed governments killing hundreds of millions. Government is the biggest disaster.
Yes, it is, but Oklahoma and 9/11 not in here. If they're successful in this coup, and we try to tell the kids later on that how they got away with everything, and we explain 9/11 in Oklahoma to them, they're going, "Oh man, that didn't happen. Time Life wouldn't lie to us."
Oh yeah, I mean, if we don't win, they'll say you could never buy vitamin C at the store. Women never breastfed. People never lived past 30. That's a conspiracy theory.
Well, it's not a conspiracy theory the way I see it. God bless you for all you've done.
Sir, please don't thank me. I want to thank you. Take care. Hey, what do you think of Obama becoming a dictator?
I wish Ron Paul hadn't pulled what he pulled, because I was at the Chico State Ron Paul rally.
Yeah.
And I stood behind the media platform, and the whole time Channel 7 News had their camera pointed away from Ron Paul until I mentioned to a bunch of people in the crowd, look how much news we're going to get about Mr. Ron Paul. They ain't even pointing the camera at him. And I got a dirty look from the film crew.
Well, that's because the average coward at media only does what they're told, and so they revel in being part of the system. They think they're on the winning team because they distort things. The average reporter out there, so I talk to a lot of them, they get off on deceiving people. They like the fact that the public's dumb. It makes it very easy for them, and that's their little secret power, is that they're there shaping and crafting and manipulating. Instead of wanting to unlock minds, unleash human potential, instead of wanting people to see the truth, have the electricity of discovery in their eyes, they love the dull, ignorant, cow-like state. The predators love that because they can feed on everybody. Well, you know what? I don't want my children growing up with a bunch of cattle, a bunch of drooling idiots. I want to lift everybody up. I want humans to be electric and powerful and real and explosive and dynamic. Not a bunch of nanny state men sitting on the toilet to urinate, women ruling over the men, cancer viruses injected to us, you know, world government drones flying around. We'll be back with more calls. Stay with us.